recap of The Patriot by Robert Browning. We are done with part 1, and this is part 2 of the same poem, The Patriot. Let's take a quick recap. Robert Browning was one of the foremost poets of the Victorian era. The Patriot is one of the most famous dramatic monologues written by Browning. A dramatic monologue is a poem in the form of a speech or a narrative by an imagined person in which the speaker inadvertently reveals aspects of his character while describing a particular situation or series of events. In this case, the speaker is the patriot. The speaker talks about the change of his fortune within a single year. In the first stanza, the speaker talks about the grand welcome that he received a year ago. Roses mixed with myrtle were showered on him while he was walking down the streets of the city. Church spires were decorated with fiery colored flags to honor him. In the second stanza, the welcome continues. People are rejoicing by cheering for him and by ringing bells. The air is thick with the sound of bells. The patriot says that had he asked the people to give him the thing that they value the most, they would have happily given and would have asked him what else he wanted. Such was their love, respect, and adoration for the patriot. In the third stanza, there is a reference to a Greek mythological story of Icarus and Daedalus. Like Icarus, the patriot became overambitious and wanted to achieve the unachievable things for his countrymen. In the process of doing so, something terrible happened, and the people's love and respect for him vanished. And now, after a year on the very same day, he is harvesting the hatred of the people, going towards his death. Stanza 4. There's nobody on the rooftops now, just a palsied few at the window set. For the best of the sight is, all allow, at the shambles gate. Or better yet, by the scaffold's very foot I trow. This is the present condition of the speaker. The present setting is a contrast to the setting which was there a year ago. Unlike last year, now the housetops are empty. Only a palsied few, referring to the effects of paralysis or old people, disabled people, are sitting by the window and watching the patriot being dragged towards the gallows. The others have gathered at the shambles gate, the gate of the gallows, to see him die. Some have even gathered at the very foot of the scaffold, from where they will have a clear view of the patriot being executed. Shambles Gate refers to a place where people would congregate to watch public hangings, and a scaffold is a raised wooden platform used formerly for the public execution of criminals. The word tro means think. The Patriot says, I think that this is where the people might have gone. Stanza 5. I go in the rain, and more than needs, a rope cuts my wrists behind, and I think by the feel of my forehead bleeds, for they fling, whoever has a mind, stones at me for my years' misdeeds. This stanza is the continuation to the patriot's humiliation at the hands of his countrymen. Let's see the setting. The patriot is being dragged through the streets. It is raining, as if nature is crying over his downfall. Nature is pitying that his countrymen are showing no remorse. His hands are tied behind his back so tightly, maybe needlessly so tight, that they are bleeding. The rope is tight and his wrists are cut. His forehead is bleeding as people are throwing stones at him randomly from the crowd. He says that the people who are throwing stones are the ones who have an active mind and are aware of his misdeeds. The speaker doesn't seem to be angry with these people for throwing stones at him. It suggests that despite the treatment he is receiving, he doesn't blame the people. He knows that they have misunderstood him. Stanza 6. Thus I entered, and thus I go. In triumphs, people have dropped down dead. Paid by the world, what dost thou owe me? God might question. Now instead, 'tis God shall repay. I am safer so. This last stanza reflects on the patriot's death, and in these lines we also see Robert Browning's stout religious beliefs. Thus I entered, and thus I go. This line is philosophical and religious. This is his entry and exit from life and from people's minds. He says that in his triumphs, people have dropped him down dead. This suggests that he looks at his predicament as a triumph. He believes that he stood by the right things and thus considers himself victorious in defeat. He tries to gather some hope in such a painful state. He says that he has played his role and so now he has to leave. Here again, Browning projects a philosophical truth of life that Shakespeare too has mentioned in his play As You Like It. The same idea is used by Shakespeare in the speech, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances. Even on the verge of his death, he consoles his soul that he may get his reward in heaven. Though his countrymen have failed to pay the required respect to him, he hopes to get it in God's company. The patriot is not scared at all of dying. In fact, he is happy that he is going to God, who will reward him for his work on earth and will keep him safe with him in heaven. The poem ends on a note of optimism that God will make everything all right. Thus, the patriot reconciles to his lot in life. Let's look at the poem's message. The poem shows the reader the uncertain nature of society. Society is very dynamic in the people they choose to support. Entire nations can switch sides instantaneously without care or worry about what happens to those they leave behind. The Patriot is a tragic tale of a man who fell from being a star citizen to becoming despised so intensely that he was put to death. The entire poem is based on irony, as the people who once used to revere the man and put him on a pedestal became the same people who deserted him and even killed him at the end.